Hi everyone, my name is Ari Coleman. This is to introduce this new podcasting channel that I've started on my YouTube channel, Ari Santiago 99, at Ari Santiago 99. This podcast is going to be called Ontological Demand, and it's going to act as a pedagogical method for teaching queer philosophy or philosophy of queer studies. My qualifications are on my YouTube channel under the video that says autobiography. So if you're wondering how I'm avoiding qualifying bias and what is informing the concepts that I'm talking about, please go check that video out. So this lesson plan that I'm evaluating in this video will be about roughly 7 to 10 minutes, introducing this channel and what I'm going to be working on with this project and how this project has gone from visual representation and been promoted into an audio representation, which is something I feel really excited about. So this is the lesson plan for my podcasting session 1, which I anticipate will be recorded on this upcoming Wednesday, June 7th, around 4 p.m. The upload will probably come after that. So this concept is called ontology, which is a branch of metaphysics understood as the study of the human experience, the science and the art of the human experience, and how that relates to social ecologies, various other sociologies, geologies, and other queer studies as well. This is prepared by me, Miss Coleman, myself. The overview and purpose of this podcast is to raise awareness of this contemporary method in innovative pedagogy. Ontology, or ontological realism, is defined by Amy Thomason and myself as the interrelation between various metaphysical topics. Understanding ontology is a useful method in approaching queer studies, theology, philosophy of language, ethics, as well as other eclectic pedagogical concepts. More concisely, the purpose of this podcast is to raise figurative establishments of awareness. I have taken the liberty of writing down 3 education standards for this podcasting channel. Moreover, I do want to mention as an intellectual property disclosure that this lesson plan was created, and it would be impossible for me to create this lesson plan without the help of docs.google.com, the Google Docs platform, which is very useful for accessing templates in academia and abroad, for organizing thoughts and getting ideas onto a digital platform or a physical platform. So, the first education standard for this channel is to develop an understanding of history of philosophy as a prospective 5th respected school of philosophy, in addition to metaphysics, ethics, epistemology, and logic. The second education standard is to establish a platform through which individuals who prefer to communicate in exclusivity through emotional theories have a safe space to express their ideas, even through allegedly radical preferences. At this time, we will take a pause to establish proper emotional boundaries that will last approximately 60 seconds, starting now. Thank you all for your patience and bearing with me. Those emotional boundaries are imperative not only for me, but for everyone that I speak to as well, to engage in friendly conversation, friendly, uninterrupted conversation. The third education standard, as I continue, is creating a healing environment for those who may argue we have harmed them along the way, and respect the boundaries both they and ourselves have put in place to dismantle that idea. I have also been led to create 3 objectives for this podcasting channel. One is to establish a foundation for other philosophy talks about queer concepts. 2, ameliorate the discord about rape culture and dismantle stereotypes surrounding iterations that do not fairly tell stories of inclusivity in higher education. The third and final objective is to provide feminist-informed pedagogy to the public. Materials needed for this podcast are 2 in number. The first one being Authenticity, which was inspired by Fabian Dominique in the Nike Training Club app. Fabian Dominique is a Nike master trainer in the sacred art of yoga and the contemporary act of gyrokinesis, or art of gyrokinesis, if you will. The second material needed for this podcast is bravery, as is life here in the United States of America. Verification, steps to check for student understanding. Verification method number 1 is pauses every 5 minutes for at least 1 minute in these podcasts, like we have just concluded, to establish proper emotional boundaries. The second step for verification is consider counter arguments. This podcast will be all about evaluating counter arguments to give everyone equal access to education, higher education, and give everyone a seat at the table to establish their ideas as valid and feel comfortable enough and safe enough to express their ideas without retaliation. The third step to check for student understanding is discourse on emotional reasoning. Emotional reasoning is understood in modern day psychology as a cognitive distortion where one reasons from their emotions instead of reasoning from the facts. In order to ameliorate this theory and psychological communication and sociological communication, we will provide discourses on emotional reasoning to validate its usefulness and, again, give everyone equal access to the table or to the platform that we are having these discussions on. So the activity that I spoke about at the beginning of this introduction is creating a monologue on the original ontological concept, causation does not equal correlation. This concept resonates with me personally, as it was one of my favorite concepts that was evaluated in the movie Oculus. Oculus is a horror movie. I admonish you about this concept that causation does not equal correlation. There are these 2 siblings and they are locked in a haunted house, and they try to record and get these hauntings on camera, and they end up being thrown into psychosis, if you will, just this delusion that everything that is haunted about this house is actually real. It's a part of the actual reality that they are partaking in. Not as a failure, but as perhaps as a comment on modern day philosophy and how important it is to have history of philosophy as a concept in philosophy, a school of philosophy, in order to talk about this concept that is spoken about by one of the actors whom I will mention in this activity. Causation does not equal correlation. I do also want to disclose as an intellectual property disclosure that this concept is also an original concept that is evaluated by me, a philosopher. I also identify as a logician, or more broadly as an epistemologist, a individual or a scientist in first-person consciousness, phenomenologist, and also as an ethicist. As a roundhouse of two-spirited concepts or queer studies concepts in philosophy. So a lot of these are my original ideas, and a good way to understand if one of the ideas is not one of my original ideas is if I give credit to someone else for it. This was a little more, I do acknowledge, or prospectively a little more than 5 minutes since our last pause. So I will apologize sincerely for anyone who may have been offended by this little overlap of 1 or 2 minutes between our pauses. However, this is the conclusion of this introduction. So I hope everyone has a great day full of positive energy and high spirits. And I feel excited for where we're going to go from here. Thank you all so much for listening to Ari and Ari Santiago 99 for this theorizing on ontology. Goodbye.